All right, I'm going to go ahead and draw this here. Now, this assignment basics, the objectives are that it's graphic and simplified. So as I'm drawing this, I'm going to simplify what's here even more. Shape and texture are the elements, so I'm going to really focus on making sure I have really good shape as I'm drawing it and when I'm painting. When I paint, I'm going to make sure I'm recreating texture, emphasis, and balance. And then the other addition, the other requirement was that limited color palette. And I'm going to use complementary colors. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use orange and blue. Orange and blue when I get to that point. Okay. Oops. All right, so if you are painting along with me, awesome. I'm going to make this even smaller. Starting off with the largest shapes first. I'm actually going to make this even smaller by making this the frame. So this is going to be pretty balanced. Oh, you can't even see it. I'm so sorry. Let's try to get that. There we go. I've got the window creating some sun here, and I don't know how to not have that there because of the light coming in. I'm going to divide this in half. Just putting 2 dots there. And I'm going to draw another pane in here. There is 2 window panes here. Still working on adjusting this for you guys so you can see it. Also, I believe that I mentioned before that it does not have to be precise in terms of your visual reference. Getting a little bit wonky, but no one is going to see your photo reference. They're only, unless you show it to them, they're only going to see what you're painting. Okay, make sure that it seems to keep adjusting because the light is yeah, there's a window pane here or flower box. I'm not getting this precisely. I'm getting the kind of the feeling of these flowers here. off of a wooden box somewhere here. And when I say it doesn't have to be precise, I really do mean that. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are clear in what it is that you're drawing. So if you are making it sketchy, that's okay. But you have to make sure you're clear on what your shapes are. So this is the bottom of that floral box there. Now I'm going to show you how this eraser works. It actually uses, it's called friction because it uses friction, or the heat that happens from when you rub this rubber against the paper. It's the heat that removes it. I'm just getting these little spaces here. And I noticed the other day when I was painting that with this, that it also kind of lifts up a little bit as I'm painting. I want that to be at an angle. I want this to be at an angle so that it feels like it's going back into space. Okay. And
would you repeat the name of the pen, please?
yes. Friction Clicker. It is by Pilot.
Pilot.
Pilot. Bought this at the art store. Okay, actually, I think that's better. The sun is not on my drawing there.
I just checked and they are available at Amazon also.
Wonderful. Well, yep. That guy Bezos is everything. He's
They
got
have it
everything
in
on his
blue,
site.
in blue ink as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't get blue unless
No?
you're wanting it
Okay.
for writing. I would get black. Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to keep this balanced, making it the same on both sides. I messed up. That's okay. I got my pen. Here, I got my eraser. No, I did it. That's fine. I did that. Okay. And I'm going to simplify this even more. We're just doing, this one has 6 slats. I'm going to do 4 slats. See, that's me simplifying. So think about ways that you can simplify your artwork. I mean, if I really wanted to simplify, another thing I could have done was I could have made these, instead of 6 window panes, I could have made them 4, but I didn't. So I'm going to divide that in the middle, divide those in half. Ta-da! Okay, we've got that done. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start painting. I can move this away. I'm going to just keep this, actually, I'll keep this smaller so we can still see it. Pardon me as I adjust things so that everything is in view. I'm going to brighten this up just a tad. Okay. Still just working on adjusting that lighting. There, that looks good. Okay, and of course, because I'm traveling, I brought my travel Da Vinci watercolor brush, which I absolutely love. I don't need to bring any other brush than this. And I just have tape on it because if I ever am sitting with anyone else who happens to have this brush, I can say, well, mine has yellow tape on it. Anyway. Okay, so I've got some water. What I want to do is only use, what did I say? I was going to use orange and blue only. And the other thing I want to do is kind of make sure I have a good value range. And I realize that this here is not showing up in true to color on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and just adjust the lighting on this. So it's going to look better. Yeah, that looks more like it. Okay. I do have some pencil lines on here that you cannot see, but I use those as my guidelines. I drew the grid so that I would have balance. Now I'm using a regular eraser on top of that. That's not going to erase the pen because it's not a special pen eraser. Okay, so my colors for this are going to be orange and blue, which means that this is only two colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with the color mixtures of the oranges and the blues. So I'll just get, and I'm limiting this to blue. I'm not saying only ultramarine blue. I'm not saying only cobalt blue. I'm saying blue, or I'm just saying a hue. Okay, so if you want to use a bunch of different shades of that one chroma, like I'm using blue, so I'm going to use cobalt. I'll try phthalo, I'll try Prussian, I'll try cerulean. I'll see what happens just because it's going to give, I'm using limited chroma in terms of complementary orange and blue, but I'm going to give myself more range of things that I can create in terms of value or even in terms of the color range just with just orange by using different blues. Okay, so this I think is my cobalt blue. I'm gonna go ahead and try, I think this is a phthalo blue. So what I'm doing is I'm really gonna play around with my palette and see what I have possible. So my ultramarine, oh, there's some green in there. Okay. You can't really tell the difference. There's a slight difference, but not too much. And then this is, oh yeah, this might be the, I don't know what that means, actually. Okay. And then I have a cerulean blue. Which is really light. There's very little of this left on my palette because that's my sky blue when I go out painting. Okay, now I'm gonna go on to orange. Now basically I don't really have an orange. I have a cat red, which is very warm, but I can create oranges by mixing my primaries, red and yellow. Okay, but when I use my color mixture, I'm going to be mixing orange with my blue if I'm going to create any variances. So I'll go in here and get this CAD. I'm using this paper towel to clean up. I'm going to take some yellow. I don't really have a clean area on my palette, so I think I'm going to actually do that now. I'm just going to clean off my palette so I have a nice area for orange. I might as well do this too. what the heck, I might as well do them all because I don't think I'm gonna be using any of those. Into my water eyedropper, adding some water to my reds and yellows. Using this lemon yellow here. Now I'm going to mix that with, let's see, I'll try mixing that with this alizarin. Ooh, that alizarin was real dirty, but it's an orange. Now, taking a little bit more time with this, because I'm mixing so many colors, I might want to know what colors I'm using to mix. So I might take some time to write down, like I could literally do that. I could say, this is alizarin, crimson, and lemon yellow. That's my abbreviation, AC and LY, lemon yellow. So now I'll do, let's say I'll do, well, I don't even think that's alizarin. That's alizarin. I think that's my rose. That's rose. Okay. Let's actually try alizarin. This is my alizarin here, and it's very dirty. And now I'll try a lemon yellow. So I'm doing a lot of playing with color here before I've even painted anything. I'm gonna play with the lemon yellow in here and add that in there. And I want this to be orange, not red. So I have to keep going until this is orange. Oops. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, and I'll write down that is alizarin, crimson, and lemon yellow. Okay, and now I'm going to do, let's try a completely different one. Let's do cad yellow. And then I'm going to do like a cool red here. I don't even know what this one is. I can't remember. That is a very nice deep orange. Okay. That is cad yellow. And I think that might be some kind of, maybe that's rose madder. I don't know. I can't remember. I should write those things down. Okay. So I've got my limited color palette. Now I have to decide what's going to be what. Well, clearly I've got windows that are reflecting glass, so I can use, or I'm sorry, the glass windows that are reflecting the sky. So I definitely can use blue for that. I think that what happened. Yeah. Okay. And I want to start off, I'll start off with a wash. I'll go ahead and do the same thing that I did last time in my demo or in my example, which was getting the cast shadows. So I will create my cast shadows by mixing my two colors together to create like a neutral color, and that would be like a neutral gray. I'll mix up an orange and a blue, and that's going to get, I need to make sure it's dark. So I think I'm going to play around with the intensity of this. So I'm going to play around with using like this really bright blue here. I think that'll be fun because I want this also to be graphic, and the graphic nature is like, think of a concert poster, like an old kind of vintage concert poster, or something where they're using a lot of shapes in bold color. So I'm going to try and play with making this a little bit bolder. I'm just going to go straight into the cat orange and mix that up in there and see what I get. That's going to be really, really dark. I kind of like that. So yeah, I'll try that. Now I've got a lot of paint. This is a small painting space, so I should have enough paint to make sure that I have like enough volume is what I mean. I need to make sure I have enough volume of paint. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just paint in my cast shadows. I've got shadows up at the top here. And this is my first layer. I'm doing this, it's a dark color, but I'm still kind of laying this in a little bit as a wash, meaning it's transparent. And the fun part is the cast shadows on the stucco wall. There's a little bit of variance there because some of those plates, or what are those called? Those planks are off center. And then there's some cast shadows from these flowers, but then some of that light is coming through. And I want to leave some areas for the lightness of the leaves because those are going to be a lighter value, a lighter color than my shadow. And then I'm going to lay in the cast shadow here. Yeah, I'm guessing that these are going to be casting shadows too because they're out in the sun. And now I have to make sure I paint those objects correctly. Okay, and there's another thing that I'm not getting is the shadow on the window pane. That actually goes like that, and then there's this shadow there. Okay, so you can see just getting that shadow in there all at the very beginning really does a nice job of creating that sense of dimension. And that area was a little dark. It was still wet. It was the first area that I put down, but there was a lot of paint on my brush. It was very heavy. It was very loaded with water and pigment, so I had to go back in there and sop that up and then spread it around. Okay. So now, let's see how dry that is. It looks like it's mostly dry except for those areas that I touched up. So what I'll do now is I want to create I'm going to do a wash for the background. Now remember, simplified, but texture. So I'm going to, this time I'm going to maybe try and emulate that texture in the background of that for that stucco, by using a wash, but also maybe doing some dry brush strokes, I suppose. And so that means I'm going to have to dry off my brush with a paper towel. And I'm going to use this orangey color here. I'm going to put a lot more water there so I have a lighter color. And I can test that out on my little test paper here. That's nice. Okay, and I know that's going to dry darker, so that's okay. So now what I'm going to do is, and before I do this, now I don't have anything on my border. It's not taped off. I don't have any tape. So if I wanted to paint this to the edge of my paper, I have to be mindful of painting off the edge. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of create a spot around it. I'm going to paint right up to the edge here, and I'm going to try and create texture with the way that I lay this in. Being careful around the edges. I'm going to go right over the wash of the shadow that I did. And because that has, I think it was like a phthalo or some kind of blue that's a stain color, it's not going to lift up. It shouldn't anyway. It's lifting up over there a little bit. That's just going to have to be part of my texture. Oops. Keep that there. Okay, so I've given it kind of a modeled feeling of the way I laid the paint in. I can even come in and lift up in some places to create even more texture, implied texture. Okay, good. I took care of texture. Now, what I'll do next is I'm going to start to kind of lay in. I think all of that stuff should be really dry now. I'm going to lay in the color for the shutters. And I think I want that to be really, really bright. I'm only using orange and blue. So I know this part is going to be easy because it's pretty much orange and blue already, is it not? But the place where I have to be very more creative is the flowers. And that's fine. So, but because I want this to be graphic and simplified, I'm going to try and make the orange really, really bright, maybe. I don't know. Let's try using this, and I don't think I wrote down what that was. That's okay. I'm gonna lay this in as a wash. Check, that looks good. Okay. I'm just gonna do all of it. And if any part of my background is still wet, touching my, and it's starting to bleed over there a little bit. It is what it is. In the interest of time, it's moving fast. Things are gonna bleed. Okay, cool. I think that's all right. Yeah, I might as well. I'm just gonna simplify this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the window panes too. I think I was gonna do that another color, but I'm not. I changed my mind. Or rather, I was gonna mix up another color for that, but I'm not anymore. Okay, so far just orange and blue. All right, I've got to let that dry a little bit. Maybe I will actually paint this box a little bit different so I have some variation. So I'm going to take this blue that I already have and I'm going to mix it with this orange over here. So I'm going to put it over here on this side. This is the tricky part of this because I need to lay this down. Okay. I'm going to take this blue that I've already mixed up. Take this, the color that I've used. Yeah, I'm going to use another orange. Ooh, that's nice. That's really dark. That's like a really, really dark brown. So yeah, I'll use that. Because orange and blue but does, make brown, that's a lot of paint. I'm gonna, that really helps me out in this case. Because it is brown. I put there's a lot of paint over there, so I'm kind of absorbing it with the brush and moving it over here. This is really, really light. It's a very light wash. You can see how transparent it is. Very transparent. If I wanted it to be darker, I'd have to add more pigment and less water. So now you can see that's a lot darker. Oops, sorry, that's a lot darker. So I can come in there and hit the bottom, some of those places there, and get that even darker. Okay, now waiting for things to dry. I'm going to go ahead and hit the windows with that blue. And there's a highlight here, or actually the reflection from the sun on the window. So I want that to be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to start off at that value. I like this really bright blue here. So I think I'm going to make sure I'm using that one. Yeah, I'll use that one. I'm just going to go straight in here. And see, I wanted this intensity, but I don't want it that. The color that I mixed, I wanted it that intensity, but I didn't want it that dark. So I'm using my brush to lighten it up a little bit. And I could even lift up even more. There you go. Now I can come in with this more intense blue in all these other places. Ooh, that's going to be really bright. And I know that's still too bright, but that's okay. I can lift up. There you go. And I'm going to keep going with this really, really bright blue because it's not realistic in terms of the color per se, but it is really bold. Rinse that off and then lift up. It's still wet, so I can lift it up a little bit. Once it dries, I'm not going to be able to lift up because it is a stained color. Okay, and I want this to be even darker at the top here. To go with that shadow, and then I think I want to re-emphasize that shadow there. There. I think I need to wait for that to dry a little bit more so that can be more of a hard edge. And then I'll come in and do these really dark areas down too. I'm losing my shadow, so I'm going to have to make sure I emphasize that shadow shape again. And I can do that by glazing over it with another layer of that blue once it all dries. Actually, what I can is something I can do is I can just lift up on that bottom part, and it's gonna get that shadow, that cast shadow back in there. Okay. All right. So that looks fine and good to me. I'm happy with that. And now what I can do is kind of get the greens going in there with the plants, and all I have to do is mix a little bit of this blue, not with yellow because I need to keep it to orange, but maybe I can take a little bit of this orange, just a little bit of this really fair orange that has more yellow. So I need more yellow in my orange, and then I'm going to mix it with the blue, and then I'll get kind of a green. Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to lay that in. Ooh, that's really dirty. That's nice. I'll lay that in some of these places. Okay. So that's, it's green. And because it's next to the blue, it's really showing the green part of it. Waiting for all of that stuff to dry. I think that looks like it's mostly dry. By the way, let's see, I'm on what, Central Time? So it's 4 here, which means it is 2:12 there. So I have to do the math. Sorry. I'm just checking on my time. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and do like my darker shadow on top of those areas that I've already blocked out because the sea is really, really dark. So I like this. Oh, I have some bleeding happening there. Just remove that. So I'm gonna make that really, really dark come in here with this orange. Let's see here. I'll take the CAD. And I'm going to take some of this blue that I already have here. And I'm going to mix it up in here. See what happens. That's a really nice dark brown.
Question,
Okay.
when
Yes.
you're saying you should do it in two colors, orange and blue, that
Yeah.
means you can do whatever makes them up and mix them?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Like, wait, I said I was only going to do orange and blue, but I'm making it green. Well, okay. So yeah, I really kind of should only do blue and orange. But I'm using complementary colors. I'm discovering this. I'm discovering what the range of this color, this assignment can be.
At the beginning, you said something about using primary colors. So if
I did say that. And you can absolutely use just primary colors. This is the challenge. This is like the next level one. If you want to do even more limited, you can do even more limited color palette, meaning only using two colors, orange and blue. Or not just orange and blue, but complementary colors to create your palette. And so, yeah.
well, to make the secondary color, you do have to use two primaries. So-
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just going to be, using whatever colors you can get using your limited color palette. So I'm only using oranges and blues. The idea is not necessarily to create something that only has two colors, but to learn how to paint when you have parameters and limitations set on you, because there's like there's a unifying thing that happens when you limit your use of color. Okay, I think, and now I want to get this down there too. Oh, and I'm missing this teeny tiny one here. Okay. And I think I want to do this little dark area again. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. And now I'm going to add some just bright orange and blue flowers in there just to give some color. And they're not going to have any rhyme or reason. These are going to be just some areas of color that are going to pop. And I might even put some blue. And that might be my emphasis right there, is by using just orange and blue. That's bleeding. That's okay. And my flowers, my flower bed. And that might be a way to create kind of emphasis in the bright colors and creating kind of like a harmonious balance. Okay. So I got, I don't know, I changed the colors of the flowers to orange and blue. And the last thing I want to do is I want to get the cast shadow again, just one last time on my stucco. And I'm going to go with this blue. Test it out to see what that looks like. It's still kind of gray because I added orange to it. That's a nice blue shade. I think I'm going to go with that. And but maybe add a little bit more blue to it so it just has a little bit more color in it. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. It might be a little too dark. But I know it's gonna lighten up. So I'm gonna take some of that, soak that up, that over here. And I might even do this shadow again and reinforce the bottom here. The sunlight's coming in, it's altering this a bit too much. There we go. Okay. I think I can call this done. So, did anybody paint along with me? All right. Any questions?
No, it looks great.